Welcome to Waiver Watch episode 8 on January 5th, 2020. We are 107waivers.com, and each week we bring to you some of the most interesting waivers approved by the FAA on the week prior. And as always, we like to start off each episode with a acronym sponsor. This week's sponsor is the letters ARC, which is Aviation Rulemaking Committee. They are, Jakey, help me out. Who are they, really?
The Aviation Rulemaking Committee. Yeah, they're usually groups of industry experts, FAA and so on, that kind of discuss upcoming rules, make reports on various topics such as micro UAS and remote ID and so on, and then they ultimately write a report to the FAA that helps create regulation or rules. So.
Perfect. Awesome. So, after our acronym sponsors, we always like to jump straight into the Waiver Watch weekly totals. Jakey, what do we have? Is it an awesome start to 2020?
Well, it's a slow end to 2019, more like, right?
Oh, true. We have not started 2020s.
Yeah. So it's the previous week. We had 5 waivers. Kind of a slow week, but that's okay. It's New Year's, Christmas, all that. So 5 daylight operations waivers. Last week's episode, we kind of talked like we'd give you an update. So we only saw 10 last week. So kind of 2 slow weeks in a row. And we just had a hunch that maybe the database guy was like on vacation. So we went back and looked, and sure enough, they did update it. So last week we reported they had 10. They actually had 18, which is pretty cool. And so that got us thinking, we're kind of seeing some like trends on the Part 107 waivers issued table, and we just wanted to kind of give you guys a couple of those lessons learned. So, Brent, why don't you kick off number 1? We've got about 4 of them here. So
yeah. So, as apparent from our total counts that we have for each week, they change. So it's clearly that this table is a living document. It's a living table. There can be people added and removed at any time. Sometimes there's delays in getting these waivers out on this list. So just treat it as such. It's a good source of information, but it is a living document and doesn't always have the most current and correct information.
Yep. Which kind of leads into number 2. The table is not the official source of waivers. It does have like the official document linked, but your Drone Zone account is the most up-to-date place to find information about your waivers. So if you're wondering like, where the heck is my waiver? It's not on the table. It's probably in your Drone Zone account, and you usually get an email when that changes. So just check your Drone Zone account. If you have the approved document in there, you're good to go. And it might just take a little bit to hit the table.
Right. So. And that's like with number 3 here, our point is that you'll get this document. Typically, you'll get the Drone Zone approval prior to even showing up on that table. So, the next time you get your next waiver, check the same day that you get the waiver in Drone Zone, go and look on the 107 waivers granted page on the FAA's website, and you'll probably notice that you're not on there. And then it'll usually take either like Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday is typically when they upload the week's waivers.
Yep, kind of batch processed. And the last one is there can and have been errors. So a couple episodes ago, we reported on like this crazy ops over human beings waiver. It was just ridiculous. And then like the next week, it was gone, and they had replaced it with something else. So
and it
can make errors, and it happens. So
it had a revision.
Looking at Drone Zone.
Had a revision at the end of the waiver number too. So it had the original waiver number, but then it was a second revision essentially. So they didn't refile that number, which is interesting. So yeah,
speaking of waivers that did get updated to last week's total, that's kind of the focus of this week. So why don't you tell us about this Ops Over Human Beings waiver, Brent?
Yeah, so one of those waivers that snuck in late to the party, but was approved, well back into December, was this combination dual parachute waiver for 107.39A. So the folks down at TPS at Fort Mac LLC, Christian, who's the responsible party there, they were able to get the ParaZero Mavic Safe Air System and the Phantom Safe Air System combined into one 107.39A waiver, which is very, very interesting. Jakey, if you want to jump into the provision where it really clears this out on number 22, fill us in on that little portion.
Yeah. So throughout the document, it kind of mentions both. So it's pretty obvious, but we thought 22 kind of makes it it's like the cleanest provision that says it. So basically it just says that operations conducted under this waiver may occur when the ParaZero Safe Air Mavic system is installed on a Mavic 2 Pro, Zoom, or Enterprise. So it's also cool that they're looking at the series and not just like a specific one like the Zoom. So that's good. But then it also says, or ParaZero Safe Air Phantom system installed on a DJI Phantom 4. So they got actually technically 4 aircraft approved on one waiver. So
four models of aircraft, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, because they're not these aren't serialized aircraft that they're referring to, or even registered aircraft. They're just the models. Yeah, which is also interesting too. So don't think that you can put your Phantom 4 ParaZero parachute onto your Mavic, because in 22 here they can't. So not
they're
that you'd want.
Similar, but yeah,
they look very close. They're like slightly different in color, but they're pretty much about the same size. They attach slightly different as well, but yeah. So
that's kind of our exciting waiver for the week, really. So normally we go over 2 waivers each week, but since it's been slow kind of the last 2 weeks, we thought we would hit on kind of some 2 other news items. One that's
the hot
really hot topic right now, and then another one that just kind of proves that we're waiver nerds. So let's hit on remote ID real quick. So the FAA published, so it's officially published now. It's open for comment. That happened on December 31st. And this is a really important rule. We're not going to really dig into it, but we've provided a link in our blog post directly to that, so you can go read about it. We've also created a 10 things you should know video that it's really short. It's 4 minutes. It just gives you kind of the high level topics. There's no opinions, just facts. So we'd recommend looking at that. And then there's also a graphic on how to actually provide a thoughtful comment.
Right.
So,
and I'd like to add too, a lot of videos out there that are talking about NPRM for remote ID. They're very, very opinionated, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, you need to make sure that the people that are giving you their opinions are actually correct, because we've heard a lot of misstatements by even very knowledgeable and expert people in the industry. They're just speaking a little bit off, and maybe someone goes and reinterprets what someone said, and they're not reinterpreting the actual rule, proposed rules. So be sure that you're doing your own fact checking. Just jump into the document, scroll through it. There's some sections that are easier to read than others, and really pay attention to the punctuation and transitions between 2 sentences. Because if you combine 2 sentences that aren't meant to be combined, it will change the rule entirely. So, just a words of wisdom there is just when you're reading this or when you're listening to someone's opinion, make sure you fact check, because they're not intentionally leading you astray, but they might just misspeak, and then your interpretation will get you way off the actual intended rule. So just some words of wisdom there. We have 10 facts, no opinions interjected there. Certainly, we have opinions about the proposed rule, and, there are some things that definitely need some work, but there are some good points in this remote ID. As a whole, remote ID in general is a good idea. However, maybe this rule needs to be tweaked slightly, and that's what this 60-day comment period is. So read it, become educated, make a comment.
Yep, exactly. And don't just make there's so many comments in there that are just people a little bit fired up and maybe not providing any useful feedback. So that's why we put this graphic in here. So definitely go check it out on our website. It gives you 10 ways to make the best of your comment so that the FAA actually will read it and kind of take you seriously, so to speak.
So let's talk about, this is my favorite section, honestly, out of everything that we're talking about. Remote ID is up there as well, but we're going to be talking about this for months, 2 months at least, and for sure more than that after it's officially closed for submissions. But what did we do typically, what are people doing on New Year's Eve, right? They're out there, they're celebrating, they're watching the ball drop in New York, and then in Dallas, and then in LA or whatever. You jump the time zones, but
Right.
we had an idea, and we were right. And it is awesome. So, what's the big surprise here, Jakey? What did we do?
It's sad that we didn't even have to fight for it, really. So
Well, don't give everyone our secrets now, because now next 2021 is going to be way harder now that you just said that. But
that's true. That's okay.
So we lined up on Drone Zone like we were, trying to get concert tickets off Ticketmaster, from a sold out, floor concert. But we were mashing the submit button right at 12 o'clock Eastern time to get that first waiver of 2020. And what did we do, Jakey? We were successful, right?
We were successful, yeah. We got 107W-2020-00001.
Yep.
So super cool. We're pretty excited about that, but we're definitely waiver nerds. But,
go ahead.
I'll just say, kind of just a cool thing, and
I kind of want to paint the picture, so I'm out in Breckenridge, Colorado, up in Ski City, USA, and I'm at this bar, and I'm trying to, make sure that we're getting this. So I'm on my cell phone, and Breckenridge is not the best place for cell phone coverage, especially during a holiday, because there's, tens of thousands of people mashed into a very tiny area. Mm-hmm. But Jakey officially got the first waiver. I submitted, and what did I get? Number 2 or 3? I can't remember. But
right. Well, that's kind of the funny thing too, is I think we got the first 3 technically.
Yeah.
So that, So kind of lesson learned is Drone Zone is on Eastern time, so we can confirm that. We did try at Central and Mountain just to be sure, but it is Eastern.
Yep. And we had an inkling, right? It makes sense. DC is over there, and but
So total nerds. But,
the real question is now, what are we going to do with the first waiver of 2020? And stay tuned for that, right? If you have any suggestions, anything crazy but realistic, we'd like to make the first waiver of 2020 be something at least cool and memorable.
It'd be great to get it approved.
Yeah, I'm gonna be so mad if we get RFI'd and then we respond and then they denied. We see that you guys rigged the system because you got 1, 2, and 3. So thank you, right. But no. Yeah.
So, anyways, very cool. Also, just a side note too. We're we love hate firsts. So. Of course, we're sitting here talking about how we got the first waiver, but also we wrote another blog post about firsts. There's a link to it on our website again, but go check that one out as well, so you can kind of understand our position on that. We like them, but they're also kind of a nuisance. So,
right.
So
with that said, if you guys are listening to this on the podcast, make sure you jump over to 107waivers.com, hit up the blog so you can see all these graphics and these links. Otherwise we'll be on YouTube, we'll be on all the podcasts, and then we have the reader version available on our website. So I think that probably wraps it up for the first episode of 2020. Don't you think, Jakey?
I think so. It's going to be a great year. Hopefully a good start for y'all in 2020, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Fly safe.